the TDs within the technical group have proposed a motion calling for a referendum on the bank bailout, the continuing bank bailout, and the IMF EU package. And the debate on that started last night. It will continue tonight, and at 8:30 there will be a vote on that motion. The government have already made very, very clear their attitude to this democratic call for a referendum to allow ordinary people in this country to decide whether or not we want to go down the road of this package, which will affect the future of our citizens for years, possibly decades to come. They have clearly turned their faces against that call by putting in an amendment to our motion, I should say, our motion and our emotion, deleting everything that it says and replacing it with applause for their own banking policy, or what might be better termed a despicable betrayal of what they pledged and promised and said in the run-up to the election. And that is indicative of the terrible betrayal that this government is currently embarked upon in really abandoning everything they said, every promise, every aspiration for change that they articulated in their effort to get votes. All of that is being abandoned now, and they are pursuing a policy of continuing with the IMF EU deal and all the cuts and austerity that goes with it. And their contempt for ordinary people goes further, in that I think 3 members of the government bothered to turn up for the debate on this important issue last night. I mean, isn't that a shocking indictment? When they said there was going to be a new type of politics, there was going to be a new type of Dáil, and only 3 of them bothered to turn up for the debate. Even if they disagree with us, you would think they would respect enough, at least, the fact that huge numbers of people in this country are angry about the continued bank bailout, about another 24 billion going into the banks on top of the 46 billion that went before it, on top of the 30 or so billion that went into NAMA. You'd think they'd have enough respect at least to say this is an issue that merits discussion as to whether or not we should have a referendum, and we'll engage in a serious debate with you about it, but they couldn't even be bothered to do that. They have nothing but contempt for the people of this country and for the democratic principles that they said they held so high in the run-up to the election. And given that, we don't expect, short of a revolution tonight, which wouldn't be bad if it happened, but short of that happening tonight, we don't expect that they are going to vote with us in calling for a referendum, but we are here today to say this is only the beginning of that campaign, and that the hundreds of people who gathered in Dublin last night at the meeting, the many who've come here tonight, are pledging ourselves to a nationwide campaign over the coming weeks and months to organise meetings, rallies, protests in every town, in every community, in every workplace, in every college, to mobilise people, ordinary people, who want to have a say on their future, who want an end to the attempt to unload the cost of the crisis created by bankers onto the backs of ordinary people. And I think we can succeed in that campaign if we show the sort of determination that they have for defending the Golden Circle, if we show the same determination for defending ordinary people and the principles of democracy. So let's pledge ourselves to that end tonight. Okay, I want to introduce a couple of speakers to you, fellow TDs in the technical group, and our first speaker up is Mick Wallace, TD. Don't mention the shirts, because he has serious things to say. Right, when it was first put to the new government that
the idea of a referendum on the bailout would be a sensible idea, they said they didn't need to have one because they had just got a mandate from the people to do as they wish. And sadly, the election did not give them a mandate to engage in the bank bailout without burden sharing, as was promised by both parties in the election. They've come along and they've done exactly what Fianna Fail were doing before them. Fianna Fail were decimated in the election because the people didn't want any more of that. But sadly, we just replaced one right-wing party with another right-wing party. And they're hell-bent on going down the very same road as Fianna Fail before them. Gilmore was quick to tell us that the deal was not workable. There's plenty of people that were able to prove that it wasn't very sensible or practical. And God knows it certainly wasn't very fair. Holohan, the governor of the central bank, has said that it's pretty weak on fairness, the deal, and he's certainly right on that. I mean, the notion that if a developer got 100 million off a bank for a site, and the site is now worth 20 million, there's an 80 million shortfall. And these people think that's a better idea for the taxpayer to make up the shortfall of 80 million that's no longer in the asset value of the site. So the taxpayer should pay the 80 million. This is a better idea, seemingly, than keeping the learning support teachers and the special needs assistants in the schools. Cuts left, right and centre all over the country. They're telling us that there's no other deal available in Europe at the moment. They told us, they went there and they said that they asked could it be burden sharing. The ECB said no. They said okay, that's fine, and they went home with their tail between their legs. It's hard to credit. I mean, without any shadow of a doubt, there's no bankers in Europe going to give us anything for nothing unless you put up a fight. And instead of looking for crumbs in the form of an interest reduction, it'd be a great idea if they went there with a bit of spirit and fight and get a fair deal for the people of this country. I mean, it's hardly rocket science that the notion of the taxpayer and the less well-off in our society paying for the problems of financial institutions that have absolutely no social benefit whatever to society. And even as a businessman, I can tell you they're closed for the last 2.5 years, so what we're doing with them, I'm not so sure. The notion that they're of extrinsic value to this country is a joke. They have not functioned in the interest of the people of this country for a long time. And the notion that the 80 million, if the site is bought for 100 and it's only worth 20, and the notion that the taxpayer should pay for it now, and that should be going ahead of all the cuts, I mean, they have a fair neck. There's an article 27 which says that issues of genuine national importance need to be put to the people. They tell us that there's no great facility there for a referendum. Article 27 presents a perfect facility for it. Or do they think that this is not so important in the national interest? It's outrageous